Good morning. Hopefully you had a wonderful spring break. If you haven't had a chance to watch the video announcements that I uploaded to Google Classroom, please take a look at that because it has some really important information. But one thing I want to remind you of, I will say it over and over because I know it's important, is that throughout the remainder of the school year, learning is your responsibility. It is not the responsibility of your parent or your grandparent or your babysitter. It is on you. So I want you to try your personal best. And if you get stuck and you have parents or grandparents that are there to help you, I think that's great. But first, your first resource should be to watch this video. And then your second resource should be to contact me. You can email me, you can call me. Those are some great ways to get in touch. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with our lesson today. Today we are going to be solving multi-step fraction number stories. So if you will, go ahead and get out your math journal. We're going to be on page 256. If you look at this chart on page 256, it shows a list of activities and how long in hours it takes to burn 100 calories doing that activity. So, for example, I like the one almost near the bottom that says sleeping. If you are sleeping, it would take 1.5 hours to burn 100 calories. So if your parents tell you you need to go exercise during this time here at home, you can let them know that you're going to go take a nap, and you're going to burn 100 calories in an hour and a half if you take a nap, which is a really good way to get in some exercise. But if you look through this list, some of the activities take less time to burn 100 calories. So if we see sleeping burns 100 calories in 1.5 hours, but right below that, walking at 3 mile per hour pace, which is the average rate of walking, you burn 100 calories in 1/3 of an hour. So you burn calories a lot quicker if you go for a walk than if you were to sleep, which makes sense. If you're sleeping, you're not really going to be doing anything. You're not getting your heart rate up, not using any muscles, so you're not going to be burning any calories. What I want you to do is I want you to look through this chart, and I want you to find the activity that allows you to burn 100 calories in the least amount of time. So pause the video, look through this list, and find the activity that allows you to burn 100 calories in the least amount of time. All right, which activity did you find? Well, if I was in class, I would talk and ask you guys what your process was in trying to figure out what was the activity that burned the 100 calories in the least amount of time. To find the least amount of time, I'm looking for the fraction that is the lowest. The fraction that's the lowest. So if I go through this list, I can go ahead and eliminate some of them because I know that a lot of these fractions are a lot less than 1/2. So if I look at all the fractions that are, let's say, close to 1 whole or more than 1 whole, I can go ahead and eliminate those. Like, for example, here, the 11/12, which is chewing gum. I can eliminate that one. I could eliminate down here, singing. I could eliminate sitting, sleeping, and I could probably even eliminate washing dishes. Those are all pretty close to a whole, and that's going to be close to 1 whole hour. So now I'm going to go ahead and eliminate the ones that are either equal to 1/2 or close to 1/2. So I see 1/2 right at the beginning. I can get rid of that one. I can get rid of 7/12, 2/5. And those are probably the ones that I'm going to say are closest to 1/2. If you wanted to eliminate 3/10, I could see how you could say that's close to 1/2. It is closer to 1/2 than it is to 1. So let's see which ones we are left with. We are left with, I'm trying to change my color of my highlighter. Here we go. We are left with 1/6, 1/5, 1/10, 1/4, and 1/3. Which of those fractions is the lowest? Well, since the numerators are all 1, I'm looking for the denominator that is the biggest. And the denominator that is the biggest is the 10. So running up and down stairs is our winner, our activity that's going to take the least amount of time to burn 100 calories. That makes sense. If you've ever run up and down stairs, that's really tiring. You get out of breath really quickly. So our problems today are not going to be just to find an activity that is the lowest. It's going to say something like this. Okay, so we know running up and down stairs is 1/10 of an hour. How many minutes is that? How many minutes is that? So if you were going to be tasked with finding out, okay, 1/10 of an hour is how many minutes, what process would you use? Well, pause this video and try to figure that out, and then start the video once you have an answer. All right. If I were to solve this, what I would probably do is I would probably draw a fraction bar to show that that is 1 whole hour, which we're trying to solve minutes, so I could think of it as 60 minutes. Now I want 1/10 of that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break this hour up into 10 equal sections. Okay, use your imagination and pretend that those are equal. If I want 1/10 of that, 10 of what makes 60? Well, 10 times what is 60, and that would be 6, right? So each one of these little sections here would be 6 minutes. Now, how many sections of these do I want? I want 1/10. So just one of those tenths would be 6 minutes. So 1/10 of an hour is 6 minutes. Well, if I challenged you a little bit further and I said, okay, 1/10 of an hour is how many seconds, that gets a little trickier. Now, the nice thing is we already know that it's 6 minutes. So how do we go from minutes to seconds? Well, since there are 60 seconds in a minute, I am going to do 6 times 60. The nice thing is I know that 6 times 6 is 36, and then I can just append my 0 to get 360 seconds. So these are going to be the types of problems that we work on today. And what I want you to do is I want you to take a look at number 1 on your page 256. I want you to try this problem on your own first. So pause the video, try it. When you're done, restart the video and see how you did. All right. Number 1 said Jenna burned about 300 calories playing kickball. How many hours did she play? Well, if I go back to my chart on number 1, playing kickball, I see is right here. And it says that it's 1/5 of an hour to burn 100 calories. So if she burned 300 calories, that means that she did it 3 times, because 100 plus 100 plus 100 gives me 300. Okay, now each one of those 100 calories took her how long? Well, 1/5 of an hour. So each 100 is 1/5. So 1/5 plus 1/5 plus 1/5 is 3/5. So how many hours did she play? She played for 3/5 hours. That's a weird, kind of a weird way to say it. We might say 3/5 of an hour. But part B says, did Jenna play for more or less than 25 minutes? More or less than 25 minutes. So if you remember how we solved our last problem where we had a fraction of an hour, we had 1/10 of an hour. We want to know if 3/5 of an hour is more or less than 25 minutes. So I'm going to do the same thing. This is 60. I'm breaking it up into 5 equal groups. Okay. 5 times what gives you 60? Now, for those of you that are far in your extra math, you might know that by, just know it in your head. But for some of us who don't know it, one way to solve this would be to go 60 divided by 5. And when you do that, I might start with 10, because 10 times 5 is 50, and I know I'm left with 10 more. So 5 times what is 10? Well, that is 2. So 5 times 2 is 10, and I know I'm done. Okay, so each section is going to be worth 12. So 12, 12, 12, 12, and 12. So 5 12s makes 60. How many of these sections do we want? We want 3 of them. So 1, 2, 3, 12, 12, and 12 makes 36 minutes. So it says, did Jenna play for more or less than 25 minutes? The answer would be less. Now it says, explain how you know. Well, my picture, if I could write that in a sentence, would be my answer. So how I would write that, if I was writing it, I would say, I know 1/5 of an hour is 12 minutes. So 3/5 of an hour is 36 minutes. 36 minutes is more than 25 minutes. And that would be my answer. Let's go on to number 2. I want you to pause this video, give it a try, and then start the video again when you have finished this. Number 2 says, Katie went for a walk and burned 400 calories. She came home and burned 200 more calories washing dishes. The question is, what is the total number of hours Katie spent walking and washing dishes? Okay, so this is a kind of a 2-part question. Let's start with the first part. It says Katie went for a walk and burned 400 calories. Now remember, our chart is for every 100 calories. So how do we get from 100 to 400? Well, we know that that's going to be times 4. So if we look down at the chart, walking is 1/3 of an hour. And so we know that 1/3 times 4 would be 1/3, 2/3, 3/3, 4/3. So 4/3 hours for walking. Now the next part says that she came home and she burned 200 more calories washing dishes. So let's do what we did the first time. How do we get from 100 to 200? This time it's times 2. So how long does it take to burn 100 calories washing dishes? And the answer is 2/3 of an hour. She did that 2 times. And so if we do 2/3 times 2, count by 2/3 2 times, that gives us 4/3. So we have to figure out what the total is. So we know we have 4/3 hours for walking and 4/3 hours for washing dishes. And so we're going to put those together, 4/3 plus 4/3. And that's going to give us 8/3 hours. I know some of you are like, wow, that's not right. We need to regroup. And that's a really good observation. We can regroup that. So if we take 8/3, how many times does 3 go into 8 without going over? It goes in twice, because 3 times 2 is 6. When you take that 6 away from 8, you're left with 2. And so it's 2 2/3 hours. So you can put either answer in here. You can put the 8/3 or 2 2/3 hours, whichever one you want to put in there. Okay, so I'll put 8/3 since I'm running out of room. Now, one thing I do want to talk about is, my question is, why was Katie doing dishes for 4/3 of an hour? Did she have a party and she was cleaning up afterwards? Does she have a big family and nobody helped her? I really hope that you guys, when you're cleaning up dinner, don't have to do dishes for 4/3 in an hour. That would be 1 1/3 hour. So over an hour of just doing dishes. So poor Katie. But hopefully these couple problems and talking through how to solve these will prepare you for your IXL. So if you will, go back to your e-learning instruction sheet and find the IXL that you need to do, and please get that to 80%. Thank you, and good luck.